All right, everyone. So this video series is going to be a little bit different than the previous videos I've done. Before, you kind of got your hands dirty with making some basic templates, doing the basic items on a collection, and creating some helpers and events. However, you'll probably notice that there was a lot of redundant work that we were doing. Every time we created a form, it was really time consuming. It was really confusing how to link our pages together. Our files got confusing really fast. I noticed a lot of people had these either huge HTML or huge JavaScript files. So this series is going to focus much more on how do we create a well-architected and organized app that we can maintain that is production ready. So it's going to be less freeform in terms of, oh, we just have an HTML file, we have a JavaScript file, and I'm going to push a very rigid structure on you guys, and I will tell you to build your apps in a very certain way. The advantage of that is that it will be clearer to you when you go back and look at your code. The disadvantage is going to be that there'll be a lot more magic that's going to happen. So things are going to just work as opposed to understanding every little bitty underlying piece that's going together. So when in doubt, just understand the line of code you need to put there and get it working. And if that's all you understand initially, that's more than enough. I'm also going to continue to type out these notes on the scratch pad here like I have in previous videos, but this time I'm going to put these notes that I create on the wiki, so you can actually pull up the wiki and follow along with each step that we do. So here, the first step I want you guys to do is I want you to create a new Meteor application. So let me open my terminal. So I'm going to do Meteor create. And in this case, I'm going to still call this app Restaurant App. So it will be similar in certain regards to the previous app that we created. All right, so I've made the app, and now I want to open it up in WebStorm. Okay. Now we're in our project. So the first thing I want you to do when you go into your project is I want you to make a new folder or a directory, and I want you to call it Collections. Collections is exactly what it sounds like. Collections is going to hold all of the code that's related to how our collections function. So now the second thing I want you to do, so let me go ahead and put that second step here. So create a collections folder. After you've done that, now we want to define the collections for our application. So what do I mean when I say define the collections? Well, I want to say what collections do we need for our app, and what does the data inside those collections look like? So what is its structure? So you guys remember when we did this before. So in this case, for our restaurant app, we're going to have a collection of restaurants. So that's the first collection we'll have. And a restaurant looks like the following. Our restaurant will have a name, which will be a string. It will have a, we'll say average cost, which will be a number. And then it'll have like a style, which will be another string. So if you guys remember, when you have restaurants, plural, or collection, that is a list of restaurants. One restaurant object of that collection looks like this. But you'll remember, because it's an object on a collection, it will automatically have this underscore ID field that's generated. So there'll be a magic ID that's generated on each of these objects inside of our restaurants collection. So let's define this a little bit more. There's actually a very specific term for an object that is inside of a collection, and that's called a document. From here on out, I will be calling these objects documents. So a document is an object inside of a collection, and they always have this magic _ID field on it that is a unique identifier. If that's confusing to you, you should pause the video right now and talk to a fellow classmate. So now I've defined what our restaurant collection looks like. Excellent. The next thing we need to do is I need to say what a meal looks like. So a restaurant is going to have, let's say, actually call them dishes. So a restaurant has something called dishes. So there's a dishes collection. And here, instead of saying a restaurant looks like, we'll say restaurant document looks like. And I'm going to delete this _ID thing because you should just know that documents have that. So a dish has a description, which is a string, and it has a cost, which is a number. Then we need one more collection, and let's do reviews. Now hold on a second. When we create this reviews collection, we have to ask ourselves, what are we reviewing? Are we reviewing the restaurants inside of our app, or are we viewing the dishes at a particular restaurant? There's a difference between the two. So a lot of times when you're building these applications, you have to think about how your data is going to relate to each other. So are reviews going to be reviewing our restaurant documents, or are reviews going to be reviewing our dishes? In this case, we'll have the reviews map to the dishes. So just to think about that, so there'll be maybe like the text that is the review. Then we'll be like number of stars, and that will also be a number. So now we have these three collections defined, and we know what a document looks like for each of those collections. So I did say that a review is going to be reviewing a dish, but we aren't going to build the relationships between these collections yet. We know in our head that a review is going to map to dish somehow, but let's just start by defining what your collections are and then what one of the documents for each of them looks like. So you should go ahead, pull out a pen and paper right now, and do this for your app. We already have done it when we've met individually, but you should go back and make sure that you have all the collections for your app listed out, as well as what a document inside of each of those collections looks like.